about that whole situation. And it's a tricky thing for me to answer because I felt so many things in the last year or so. There's times I felt scared. There's times I felt humiliated. There's times I felt embarrassed. And ultimately, I just felt terrible.
What is going on, guys? Same starting lineup out of the Cavaliers. Al Horford also not on a minutes limit today. So, I think he probably plays in that 32 minute range. I think check. Man, don't know what was up with that. Man, I felt like I was speaking pretty well right there. Of course, now that I'm unmuted, that's not going to happen, but it is what it is. Oh, shouting all you guys out. Come on, man. Giving you the secret plays of the slate. All right, guys. All right, we're good now? All right. Just making sure you guys were paying attention, right? All right. Let's start going over the slate. Before I do that, just wanted to mention that we are really only waiting on one piece of news now that we know that Malcolm Brogdon is out, Jeremy Lamb is out, Karis LeVert is in. Karis LeVert is
我不担心，你会没事的，孩子。奶奶呀，是过来的人，我得告诉你啊，生活中啊，总会遇到很多困难，
Man,
但你一定得
what is going on?
千万不能钻牛角尖儿。
I mean,
因为生活呀，不光是你去做什么，更是你如何。
all right. Man, I'm like scared to go over my notes because when I go over my notes, okay, God, I'm afraid to read my notes because now that I read my notes, I'm sure it's gonna go out again, but I'm gonna have to keep checking throughout that. Man, that's unfortunate. Okay, so we will start going over the notes right now. Shit. Okay, we'll go over the LeVert stuff. So, Malcolm Brogdon, Jeremy Lamb are out for the Pacers. Karis LeVert is in. We know that Karis LeVert was on a minutes limit last game, played 15 minutes in the first half, didn't play the second half. We already received word that Karis LeVert is going to play in the extended minutes from last game. He's still going to be limited, but will get extended into the second half. I'm expecting him to play 25 minutes, around 25 minutes. Now, that doesn't mean I want to play Karis LeVert, but that does take away some assist percentage, some usage away from TJ McConnell, Domantas Sabonis, and Chris Duarte. I think they are all very good plays still, just because of how many minutes we know that they are going to play today. All should play mid-30s minutes and above. Even you go back to last year with Karis LeVert on the court with TJ McConnell averaged just under a fantasy point per minute. But if he's going to play 32 plus minutes, I mean, he played 35 minutes last game. If he plays 32 plus minutes, he should be fine, especially for his price on both sides. And he does have a ton of upside, and not all of his minutes are going to be next to Karis LeVert as well, where he's a much further north of a fantasy point per minute with no Karis LeVert next to him. It's all about the money, though, with TJ McConnell and the minutes. So I like him still. Domantas Sabonis should destroy this front court. Another undersized defense that he can take advantage of, like he took advantage of Precious Achiuwa and the small Toronto Raptors. Nick Nurse just... Yeah, so I did notice that with the second unit of the Raptors stout, they're kind of like moving the starting lineup and bench lineup in tandem. So maybe they throw somebody else in the starting lineup that we're not expecting. But I'm expecting Boucher still to play extended minutes in this game without Scotty Barnes. Scotty Barnes has been playing mid to high 30s minutes in all of these games, so it opens up a ton of minutes there. But let's go over the notes, and hopefully we get this Ja Morant news sometime during this stream, because Ja Morant was a midday downgrade to questionable. So if Ja Morant ends up playing, I'm not really interested in any of the Grizzlies outside of Jaren Jackson Jr. and Steven Adams. I think both those guys are entirely too cheap. And if Ja Morant ends up missing this game, that makes DeAnthony Melton especially, but Desmond Bane as well, very, very elite plays, near must plays in my opinion, if those guys give it a go. Can I fade Drummond at 70%? I mean, I think there are 4 elite center plays on today's slate, Drummond being one of them. You can't get away from it, but Drummond is only $4,400. That's the only problem with it. You're really just hoping he gets in foul trouble or the game ends up blowing out. You're expecting a lot of things to go wrong for Drummond for him to not pay that off. Boucher off the bench. Is it announced the starting lineup? Because that would be even better for Boucher, because Boucher, I mean, if he comes off the bench, that just means his usage is going to continue to be high, and his minutes are still going to be extended. Hey, remember when I said Cedi Osman the other night? Yeah, well, he went off. Yeah, man, he was pretty much a DNP until the game ended up blowing out. When I mentioned that, then of course when you say that, he gets back into the rotation. Don't know what's going on with the Cleveland Cavaliers' last rotational piece, but I'm sure he'll be back in the lineup tonight with no Kevin Love for the foreseeable future. But we will start off with that very team, the Cleveland Cavaliers versus the Charlotte Hornets. The Cleveland Cavaliers are going to be without Isaac Okoro, Kevin Pangos, and now Kevin Love. Kevin Love wasn't on the injury report, but now it looks like he's going to miss the next couple of games. That's going to secure minutes for guys like Evan Mobley and Jared Allen in the front court, and Lauri Markkanen as well, with Kevin Love being out. Lauri Markkanen actually at 5,300 is a very good play. I think Jaren Jackson Jr. is likely going to be chalked today. Lauri Markkanen, a good pivot off of him. Evan Mobley should play. I mean, Evan Mobley literally could play like 38, 40 minutes in this game. And then without Isaac Okoro, the last couple of games, they've only been running 8-man rotations until the game ended up blowing out. So it secures minutes for guys like Darius Garland, Colin Sexton, and Ricky Rubio. I prefer Ricky Rubio of the 3 coming off the bench, just because he is the best per minute producer of the 3 tonight. Move over to the Charlotte Hornets. They have no injuries today. Terry Rozier returned last game, played 33 minutes. Doesn't look like he's going to be resting today on the second leg of a back-to-back, but all these guys on this team are priced up as if Terry Rozier is still out, but that is not the case, so I'm not really getting to anybody on this team. Kelly Oubre, probably had the best game of the season so far, and that was with him coming off the bench, but again, I'm not really considering anybody over here. Mason Plumlee, his minutes have been getting eaten into the last 2 games with PJ Washington returning. We get the Spurs versus the Indiana Pacers. The Spurs are going to be without Doug McDermott and Zach Collins. Lonnie Walker should grab the start yet again in place of Doug McDermott, but his minutes have been pretty sketchy. He has not, through the last 2 games, he hasn't closed any of the 4 halves. The first game it was Devin Vassell closing the halves over him. Then last game was a mixture of a bunch of different guys. So not getting to Lonnie Walker today. I think DeJounte Murray and Jakob Poeltl are good plays in a vacuum, but at their current prices, I can't really get myself to get up to those guys. Derek White, Keldon Johnson, probably my preferred options from this Spurs team. The Indiana Pacers are going to be without TJ Warren, Isaiah Jackson, Keelan Martin, Jeremy Lamb, and Malcolm Brogdon. Karis LeVert is going to play again today. He was on a minutes limit last game, ended up playing 15 minutes in the first half, did not play in the second half. This game, we already have confirmation that he will be playing into the second half and his minutes will be extended. I'm expecting somewhere around 25 minutes. Now, he had a 38.2% usage rating in that first half. Obviously a very short sample size, but we know when LeVert is on the court, he is going to handle the ball a lot and take a lot of shots, especially if he is on. So it definitely hurts Sabonis, Duarte, McConnell more than it helps them. But I will say that their minutes are so secure, especially without Jeremy Lamb out now as well. Jeremy Lamb played last game. I'm expecting mid-30s minutes out of McConnell, Duarte, and Sabonis. I still think that they are good plays in this matchup against the Spurs. But yeah, I'm not really considering Miles Turner either. They have been more willing to go away from Miles Turner and run Sabonis at the 5 than they have in years past. Move over to the Portland Trailblazers versus the Philadelphia 76ers. The Trailblazers are completely healthy. Norman Powell, his second game back last time out, ended up playing 33 minutes, so he is no longer on that minutes limit like we saw in the first game. He's a solid secondary play at 4,800. But Damian Lillard, I mean, nobody's going to play him. Everybody knows he's been playing awful. But the last 3 games, you know, the volume has been there. This game against Memphis and against the Clippers, his minutes got cut short due to blowouts. He could have reached 50 fantasy points in each of these 2 games if they didn't blow out. And then this last game, he shot 20 times, played 38 minutes. He just couldn't hit any of his shots. So, you know, he has easy 50-point upside. You know, I mean, he is higher than 50-point upside, but he could have hit 50 points if all things went better in these last 3 games. And he's going to come in at very minimal ownership at $9,600. You know, recency bias is going to get the best of people when it comes to Damian Lillard. One of these games he's going to blow up, and then the next slate he's going to be like 30% owned. So you want to beat the field to guys like that. The 76ers are going to be without Ben Simmons, Grant Riller, and Joel Embiid. So obviously, we all know the slam dunk play of the day is going to be Andre Drummond at 4,400, starting in place of Joel Embiid. We know how good he has been on a per minute basis over the course of his career, and now there's no Ben Simmons, no Joel Embiid. It's just a plug and play with Andre Drummond. Now, I think that there are 4 elite center plays on the slate today, Andre Drummond being one of them. I think you probably play Andre Drummond and then one of the other 3 play 2 centers over here on Draftkings. If you're playing on FanDuel, I think you just go ahead and play Andre Drummond. Tobias Harris, probably a bit too pricey for me over here on Draftkings, much more affordable on FanDuel. And then Tyrese Maxey, you know, his minutes are going to continue to get cut into by Shake Milton. You know, Shake Milton actually was the preferred option of the 2 in the offseason before Shake ended up getting injured during the end of the preseason. He is on a slight minutes limit, but they were considering starting Shake Milton over Tyrese Maxey when he was first coming back. The unfortunate thing is that Tyrese Maxey has been playing well these last couple of games, so it makes the situation very difficult. I'm going to be shying away from playing Tyrese Maxey. If you want to get to some Shake Milton at 3,600, if he could play 22-24 minutes, he is very active and can definitely pay off this price tag. There really isn't very many strong value plays under $4,000. Shake Milton is probably one of the strongest ones. Move over to the Chicago Bulls versus the Boston Celtics. The Bulls are going to be without Patrick Williams and Kobe White. So, you know, Alex Caruso was dealing with some foul trouble last game, cut into his minutes. But him coming off the bench, especially without Patrick Williams, I think he's on pace to play around 30 minutes a game. Should be a competitive one. You should see him in the closing lineups. Javonte Green will get the start, but I would highly doubt he ever closes out any of these games unless somebody gets injured or is dealing with foul trouble. Alex Caruso at 4,100 is a good, solid value play. I think Vucevic, Levine, DeRozan, Lonzo Ball are actually priced a bit too high in my opinion. Not really getting to any of those guys. If I were to consider any of them, it'd probably be Lonzo Ball just because he is almost a full $1,000 cheaper than everybody else on that team. The Boston Celtics have no injuries. Marcus Smart and Robert Williams are returning after missing last game due to illness. And man, dude, Robert Williams really struggles when he's playing next to Al Horford. About 0.7 fantasy points per minute when he's playing next to Al Horford. They staggered the minutes a lot, but they start the halves out next to each other, and if the games are close, they will play next to each other most of the time. So I mean, it's a rough going for Robert Williams. And we did just receive word that Al Horford is off of his minutes limit. He was on a 25 to 30 minute limit, although he played into overtime and ended up playing 41 minutes. So obviously that limit wasn't very strong. I think he plays, around 32, 34 minutes in regulation at $6,500. Al Horford is a pretty sneaky play. Fortunately for him, he has forward eligibility, so he doesn't take up one of those center spots that are so highly coveted today. Move over to the Washington Wizards versus the Atlanta Hawks. The Wizards are going to be without Thomas Bryant, Rui Hachimura, Anthony Gill, Cassius Winston. Daniel Gafford is back, so we know that Daniel Gafford and Montrezl Harrell are splitting all 48 of the center minutes. We did just get word that Patrick Beverley is a game time decision. That would bode well for the minutes of D'Angelo Russell if he is officially ruled out. Because ever since Patrick Beverley has been back, D'Angelo Russell has struggled to play over 31 minutes. The only game that he played over 31 minutes was when he played 36 minutes, and he was playing out of his mind. On a normal basis, I think that he plays around 30 minutes, but if Beverley is out, I think his minutes could be in the mid-30s. But yeah, so Gafford and Montrezl Harrell are going to split all 48 of those center minutes. Whoever is playing better is going to earn more minutes. Karis LeVert expected to play around 20 minutes. So, that is good because I was expecting around 25 minutes. So 20 minutes is definitely good for the likes of TJ McConnell, Domantas Sabonis, Chris Duarte. Again, don't play Karis LeVert. It just... what him being back affects other players. He's way too expensive to consider. But yeah, so Gafford being it back takes Montrezl Harrell completely out of play. I guess Gafford, if he's playing well, he could play higher 20 minutes, but Montrezl has been playing so well these last couple games without Gafford that I actually think Montrezl probably continues to close out these games. But I'm not really considering anybody from this Washington Wizards team. They have been priced up considerably. Move over to the Atlanta Hawks. Onyeka Okongwu is out, so this team is pretty much full strength right now. But the cover boy of this video, of this stream, Clint Capella, he was on pace to play 34 minutes 2 games ago before the game got out of hand, and was on pace to play 33 minutes last game before the game ended up blowing out. There was a minutes restriction on him where he was playing around 28 minutes or less in these games. But it looks like that minutes restriction is gone in a normal scenario. So if this game is competitive and he's not dealing with foul trouble, he should play 32-34 minutes. He has averaged 1.2 fantasy points per minute since the beginning of last year. This is the number 1 matchup in the entire NBA for front courts. Clint Capella should absolutely smash over here, and that is probably my favorite play over here on Prizepicks, the over 31 fantasy points. I don't understand how this is so low because he's supposed to play more than 31 minutes in a normal scenario, and he is well over a fantasy point per minute player. So I love the over on Clint Capella over here on Prizepicks. And there's some other spots you could take. The lines kind of moved already in anticipation of John Morant being ruled out. But we can take it with Julius Randle if he's still here. I already talked about it in my video earlier, but his line really hasn't moved if I can find him. Julius Randle, was he at 41 or 40.5? So if you guys want to tell me right now, I'm going to take the over on Clint Capella and over on Julius Randle. Power plays, because we are men over here. All right, cool. My mic's still not working. I forgot to check, or it's still working. So yeah, I love Clint Capella today. And then Bogdanovich at 5,200. This is a hysterical price tag. John Morant officially a game time decision. So you're probably gonna have to make some pivots after lock. If you guys are a part of Patreon or the Discord link down below, I will make sure to get you guys set up with that once that John Morant news ends up breaking. If you guys want to know exactly what I'm doing on FanDuel, Draftkings, and Prizepicks.com, you can join my Patreon. That is linked down below. This is the first of the month, so this is literally the best time to buy it at the first of the month, so you get the entirety of November. But yeah, with this team at full strength, Cam Reddish, Hunter, Herter, Gallinari, Lou Williams, I mean, the minutes are just too spread out for me. Bogdanovich, his minutes are much more secure than those guys, and he's priced down to $5,200. He should be playing 34 minutes in a normal scenario. I also really like John Collins for the same reason as Clint Capella. The matchup is just as good as it could possibly get. Move over to the Toronto Raptors versus the New York Knicks. The Raptors are going to be without Yuta Watanabe, Pascal Siakam, and Scotty Barnes. Precious Achiuwa has lost minutes 2 straight games to the likes of Kem Birch, and I expect that to continue, to be honest, especially in this matchup against a large New York Knicks front court. Kem Birch a bit bigger than Precious, and the Knicks have Mitchell Robinson and Julius Randle. Makes more sense for them to play Kem Birch over Precious. If you want to take the under on Precious actual points on Prizepicks, I'm actually liking that. He only played 17 real minutes last time out. But yeah, with Scotty Barnes out, we're going to see a lot more of Chris Boucher, a lot more of Delano Banton. Banton is the bare minimum. If you guys need a bare minimum guy, Delano Banton has his minutes have been on an upwards trend the last 3 games, and now Scotty Barnes, who has played like mid to high 30s minutes every game, opens up a ton of minutes for guys like Banton and Chris Boucher. Chris Boucher is an amazing play at $4,000. We know how good he is on a per minute basis. He'll get run at the 4 and possibly the 5 as well, with how thin this team is without Scotty Barnes. Don't mind OG Anunoby and Fred VanVleet. I think they're priced up a bit too much. I don't mind Anunoby, I guess, at $7,400, but really focusing on Chris Boucher. And then Gary Trent Jr. at $4,800. You know, I think his minutes are actually secure. After I looked into it a bit further, because when I recorded my video this morning, I didn't have time to really look into it because it happened right before I started recording. But it looks like Svi Mikhailuk was just shooting very, very well in that game, and it really cut into his minutes. I think on a normal basis, he's going to return to playing mid-30s minutes, which makes him a really, really good play at $4,800. Really good play on FanDuel as well. The New York Knicks are going to be without Nerlens Noel. RJ Barrett, you know, he had one good game, and he's priced up to $7,000 right now. I will not be chasing that. He's much more affordable on FanDuel if you really must play RJ Barrett. FanDuel is probably the place. Not really considering him over here on DraftKings. I like Julius Randle at $9,700. More of a secondary play for me. I prefer Nikola Jokic and Paul George and Domantas Sabonis to him. Yeah, and then Kemba Walker as well. You know, Kemba Walker and Derrick Rose are splitting all 48 of those point guard minutes. We've seen it the entire year. Whoever is playing better is going to receive the lion's share of those minutes. The last 3 games, it's been Kemba Walker. If you told me ahead of time that Kemba Walker was going to play 30 plus minutes, $5,800 would be an entirely too cheap price tag for Kemba Walker. But the thing is, the 2 games before that, Derrick Rose was getting all the minutes because he was playing better. But if I were to guess, it would be Kemba Walker would probably continue to see these kind of minutes in around the 30-minute range. And at $5,800, I mean, man, you can't do much better than Kemba Walker around 30 minutes. At that price tag. The Denver Nuggets versus the Memphis Grizzlies. The Nuggets are going to be without Jamal Murray and Vlatko Cancar. I mean, Nikola Jokic, one of the best plays on the slate, and I'm curious to see where his ownership ends up coming in at, because I think it's going to be pretty low. Since the beginning of last year, with no Jamal Murray, he has averaged 1.66 fantasy points per minute. And then this year, he's averaged 1.81 fantasy points per minute. He's obviously not bothered by that injury scare that he suffered a couple of games ago. I mean, look at the dude. In 15 minutes, he scored 41.5 fantasy points before he ended up getting injured. The next game, he was very questionable to play that game, and then the game ended up blowing out. He played 25 minutes and scored 46.5 fantasy points. And then last game, he got his full allotment of minutes in a low-scoring 93-91 game. played 37 minutes, put up 67.75 fantasy points per minute. I think he's the best spin up option on the slate. It's just unfortunate that he takes up a center spot where the best value plays on the slate are at. So, it's a real tough decision. I think getting to Jokic, like, you're doing fine playing him. And then I think Michael Porter Jr., Will Barton are more of secondary plays, but definitely in play if you lean on playing them. Move over to the Memphis Grizzlies. Dylan Brooks is out. John Morant is a game time decision. He was a midday downgrade to questionable. I believe it was knee soreness. No, sore elbow. So, this news is going to come out after lock, I would assume. This game is a full hour after lock. It's probably going to come out right after the slate locks. That would be our luck. But it is going to create edge if you leave flexibility in your lineups, because if he is ruled out, D'Anthony Melton, Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr. would become elite plays on the slate. And if John Morant plays, I still love Jaren Jackson Jr. I still love Steven Adams. Steven Adams, last year, although it was with the Pelicans, has matched the minutes of Nikola Jokic before, and the only reason he doesn't get minutes sometimes is because it's either a blowout, he's dealing with foul trouble, or they're playing against a team that goes small, and then the Memphis Grizzlies will match them by going small. You can't go small against the Denver Nuggets and Nikola Jokic, so I think Steven Adams is going to play 34 plus minutes in this game. And he is only $4,900. Regardless of John Morant playing or not, it really doesn't matter. Steven Adams is an amazing play on today's slate. Jaren Jackson Jr., also very, very cheap. I mean, he's too cheap. It's insulting at $5,400. He has been losing minutes for weird reasons. In normal scenarios, he's going to play around 32 minutes. And then again, Melton and Bane, I don't really want to play them. They're more secondary plays if John Morant plays, but if they are ruled out, D'Anthony Melton especially is like a near must play, as well as Desmond Bane. Move over to the Orlando Magic versus the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Magic are going to be without Markelle Fultz, Jonathan Isaac, Etuan Moore, Michael Carter-Williams, and then Gary Harris looks like he is also going to be out. He is questionable as of right now. We should receive that news at some point. If he is ruled out, that is going to help the minutes of guys like Jalen Suggs and Franz Wagner. Chuma Okeke returned last game and played 14 minutes. Cole Anthony, Mo Bamba. They have the most secure minutes on this team, but they are priced to a point where I really don't want to consider them above $7,000 in a pretty stout matchup against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Really focusing in on Jalen Suggs from this team. A complete tournament play to me. Very volatile, but he continues to lead this team in usage. And, if he was hitting his shots last game, he had all the opportunities to put up 40 plus fantasy points, ended up with 30.25 fantasy points despite shooting 3 for 13. The peripherals are pretty much always going to be there. The opportunities are always going to be there for him. And when he is playing well, he will receive more minutes, which is what you want out of a tournament play. You want a guy that, if he is playing well that game, that he's going to be rewarded with more minutes. And Jalen Suggs has that in spades. Move over to the Minnesota Timberwolves. They are another healthy team today, outside of Patrick Beverley, I guess, who is a true game time decision. If he is ruled out, I would like the minutes of D'Angelo Russell a bit more. But again, these guys are priced appropriately, in my opinion. Towns, Edwards, Russell, not really considering anybody from this team. The Oklahoma City Thunder versus the Los Angeles Clippers. Now, I think there is a lot of money to be made in this game specifically because it is currently... let's take a look. I think it's an 11-point spread right now. 12.5-point spread. Let's see. Let's update this. Yeah, 12.5-point spread. The Clippers actually moved from 11-point favorites to 12.5-point favorites, despite only 51% of the bets being placed on the Clippers. So that means sharp money is coming in on the Clippers here at home against the Oklahoma City Thunder. A lot of that probably had to do with Luguentz Dort being ruled out recently. But I don't think he would move the line all that much. But we've seen this Thunder team keep it. I mean, they just beat the Lakers the other day. They almost beat the Warriors the other day as well. So don't count them out to keep this game within striking distance, because if this game does stay competitive, if we knew ahead of time that this game was going to stay competitive, some of the best plays on the entire slate would come from this game. And it starts up top with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. One of the best plays on the slate on FanDuel. Draftkings, he's still a good play. But if you're playing a guy like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, you probably want to bring it back with a Clipper because you're assuming that that game is competitive. So bring it back with a guy like Paul George. Josh Giddey at 5,200 is one of the best plays on the entire slate. Even if this game ends up blowing out, and he plays like high 20s minutes through 3 quarters, I think he is an amazing play, and his minutes are even more secure with no Lou Dort. He has taken on, holy shit, Tobias Harris was ruled out. Holy shit. This game's blowing out. Okay, I'm going to stop right there, and we're going to talk about this. Okay, let me get through this real quick, and then we'll talk about Tobias Harris. So, if this game is competitive, Josh Giddey, great play. Basically would be a great play. Then on the Clippers side, I think Paul George is one of the best plays on the entire slate. Probably my favorite spend-up option outside of Nikola Jokic. Averaging 1.52 fantasy points per minute so far this year. There's no Marcus Morris, Kawhi Leonard, Serge Ibaka, Jason Preston. Batum should play around 30 minutes. He's a solid value play. But yeah, we got to go over this Philadelphia 76ers stuff real quick because Tobias Harris is now ruled out. Okay. Man, this game, I wonder where this line is going to end up moving to. Where they at? So this does not seem right. There's no way the Sixers were 5-point favorites even without Embiid. Really? That's interesting. Oh, live, they're 1.5. Okay. Gary Harris is officially ruled out. That is a bump to Jalen Suggs. That is a bump to Franz Wagner. Okay. We are going to have to make some changes, fellas. Okay. So let's kind of break this down. What we got from them. I mean, I don't think Tyrese Maxey and Shake Milton play next to each other. Tobias is out. And yeah, that's the thing. We need to see with Paul Reed if Paul Reed is really going to get into the rotation, because Paul Reed is the minimum price. He will play backup 5 behind Andre Drummond, and now without Tobias Harris, I think there is a really good chance that Paul Reed plays some minutes at the 4, and if this game ends up blowing out for whatever reason, he will get ample blowout run in the 4th quarter, and we know how good he is on a permanent basis. So Paul Reed becomes squarely in play today. B-ball, Paul time, potentially. Okay, we got to make some edits on FanDuel and Draftkings and the sheets. That is some pretty crazy news to receive 27 minutes before log. Furk is starting. Dude, and actually Furk and Korkmaz has taken on like a much larger role this year. He's been really good actually. Yang a good play. I mean, Yang's going to get some run for sure. But if you guys were digging down for a value play, like near bare minimum, I prefer Paul Reed to Delano Banton now. Is Tobias really out? Yes. Tobias Harris is really out. Health and safety protocols. Marketing or Wagner? Marketing for sure. What about Matisse? Matisse really never a fantasy option. Shake highest usage when those guys are out. Yeah, it's just a thing that he's like somewhat limited right now. And so we get Maxey, Curry, Green, Korkmaz, Drummond starting. Yeah, I mean, Korkmaz, very good play. Okay, let me update this shit real quick because now we're in like panic time because this happened so close to lock. Blazers only favored by 1.5. Yeah, that makes me really want to consider just running a game stack with this and running it back with Dame Lillard, especially on FanDuel. I think that is definitely in play. Top pay-ups, probably Paul George and Nikola Jokic for me today. Okay, I'm updating the FanDuel lineup right now. If you guys are in the Patreon, Pacers will start McConnell, Duarte, LeVert, Sabonis, and Turner as expected. Can Sixers keep it close though? The line is currently 1.5 points in favor of the Portland Trailblazers. So unless the line gets too wide, there's really no reason to think that. But I know my initial reaction was like, wow, are they going to keep this game close? But Vegas has it at 1.5 point favorites for them. So okay, the FanDuel lineup is being updated as we speak. Okay. It should be updated. You guys should be alerted. Then I gotta update the Draftkings sheet. I'm like scared to touch my mic now because I don't want it to go out again. Reed or Triple J? Triple J for sure. Maxey or Garland? Garland. I think his minutes are a lot safer. Shake Milton is going to eat into Tyrese Maxey's minutes 100%. What is this bullshit music? Okay. Anunoby or Bane Giddey? Anunoby and Bane? Or Giddey? Man, I don't even know what this question is. Is this like 1v1v1v1? Because I like Anunoby the most out of all of those guys. Only one core guy on DK sheet. Yeah, I'm about to update. Was waiting for news. Is SGA in play on FanDuel? Absolutely, man. He's way too cheap over there. Higher ceiling, Giddey or Triple J? Triple J has like insane upside. I mean, so does Giddey, but I like Triple J a bit more. Thoughts on Mobley? Yeah, I'm not really on. I mean, Mobley at his price is like more of a secondary play for me, but with Kevin Love being out, I mean, his minutes are actually pretty secure. Alright, I'm updating the sheet right now. Yeah, I think freaking Korkmaz is one of the best plays on the slate now. Definitely a boost to some of these guys. Favorite game to target? I mean, just from a pure tournament aspect, from cash games, it's the Philly and Portland game. From a tournament aspect, it is the last game, the Thunder versus the Clippers. So much value who to pay up for. I mean, I like Jokic a ton, Paul George, Shai Gilgeous, Sabonis. How many minutes do you think Drummond will get? You know, around 32. Capella, Horford, Duarte, Drummond, Tatum, Anunoby, Melton, and Banjan. What do you think? I'm not really on Tatum. I like that lineup, though. Al Horford or Collins? Probably Collins for me in this matchup. McConnell or Suggs on FanDuel? McConnell. It was a tough decision for me, though. It was also considering Tyrese Maxey. But, you know, TJ McConnell has the safest minutes of those three guys by a lot. Wagner, Trent, or Larry Markkinen? Probably go with Trent there. Paul Reed, any bit in play? Yeah, definitely in play. He's minimum price. That's the thing. God dang it. Chetty or Boucher? Boucher for sure. SGA or McCollum? SGA. Who's going to start for Harris? Furkan Korkmaz is starting his place. Giddey still viable in cash? I think at his price, yes. PG and D'Lo or Sabonis and SGA? Sabonis and SGA there. Collins or Horford? Collins for me. 6.7K power forward. Probably Al Horford. TJ or Maxey in a vacuum. Yeah, it's going to be TJ for me, but it's like very, very close. His minutes are just much more secure. Game of the night. Yeah, it's probably the Sixers Trailblazers game, or later on in the night, the Thunder versus the Pacers. Oh shit, I forgot to look at these Prizepicks things too. There was probably crazy value on the Sixers. Oh, my Tobias Harris bets are going to get voided. That sucks. All right, guys. The new cheat sheet for Draftkings is going up. FanDuel lineup has already been posted. And then we'll get to some questions, guys. Sorry about this. Late news always gets the best of us. Same starting lineup for the San Antonio Spurs. So, you know, what's going to end up happening is we're probably going to get this John Morant news like soon. Okay. We can start answering some questions and going over some things. Okay, Trent or Norman Powell. Gonna go with Gary Trent Jr. there, Jaren Jackson or Adams or both. I'm fine with playing both. You know, if John Morant is playing, I'm fine with just playing Steven Adams. Otherwise, if John Morant is out, I would make sure to play both of them. Sexton, Duarte, or Giddey. Probably Duarte right there. Thibault only viable with 4 steals and blocks. Yeah, I mean, really. And even then, he might not get there. Trey, Triple J, Adams, or Jokic, Maxey, and Reed. It just, like, really depends on if Ja is out. If Ja is out, I probably lean the first. Otherwise, I'd go with the Jokic side. I mean, I think Jokic is going to be very under-owned, and he's, like, pretty clearly the top stud on the slate. It's just his position is what makes things so bad for him. How do we feel about Bazley tonight? Yeah, with no Lou Dort, you would have to imagine his minutes are going to be a bit more secure. So as long as that game is competitive, I think it's fine. We scared to play PG-13 due to blowout? Yeah, I mean, definitely could happen. But man, if I knew this game wasn't going to blow out, PG-13 would be one of the best plays on the slate. His ownership is going to be very, very low. He has made me a good chunk of change so far this season. So I'm fine with going with Paul George even in cash and running it back. But if I will say, if you are playing Paul George, you should probably bring it back with some Thunder players. Korkmaz or Milton? I'm going to go with Korkmaz there. I think his minutes are much, much more secure than Shake Milton's. Oubre or Carter? I'll go with Carter there. Oh, yeah. Also, how do you feel about LeVert? I wouldn't touch LeVert. He's only limited to around 20 minutes. Daniel Gafford will have his minutes monitored. Huh. Wow, so if he's going to have his minutes monitored, that actually makes Montrezl Harrell actually somewhat viable. More so over here on Prizepicks, because I know his number was pretty low, 29. I mean, Montrezl could easily do this in like 24, 25 minutes. That makes me think that Montrezl is probably going to play the upwards of 30 minutes, and he's probably going to close out these halves. So I actually like the over on Montrezl. I'm going to double down with even more Clint Capella than I already have. So I'm going to take the over on Montrezl 29 and over on Clint Capella 31 now that we got that news. Just matched my 2.5 for the Blazers. Is that line still moving for the Blazers? Giddey or McConnell? Probably. Oh, that's tough. If I have the money, probably Giddey. Kemba or Maxey? Kemba. Thoughts on Sexton with Love out? I mean, it's not even with Love out. The thing is with Isaac Okoro out. So I think Sexton and the 3 guards for the Cavs are very good. I prefer Ricky Rubio because he's cheaper and he's the better per minute producer, and they should all play similar minutes. Bogdanovich or Kemba? Gonna go with Kemba there. Trent or Wagner? Trent. Sabonis 6x today at 10K against Spurs. I think that's definitely viable. Suggs or McConnell and Fiendle. McConnell. DeJounte Murray in play now with all the value. Yeah, I guess. I just still think he's overpriced, regardless. What's your minutes prediction for Paul Reed? Is he actually viable for a punt? I think he likely plays around 20 minutes, which is a lot for Paul Reed. And that could actually be a stretch in minutes. But this is without Joel Embiid and Tobias Harris. So Paul Reed could play the backup 5 and get some floor run. I mean, that might be a low projection. I mean, Paul Reed definitely the best minimum price guy on the slate. Same starting lineup for the Trailblazers today. Best forward for 4,500 DK, probably Chris Boucher. Best value play tonight, probably freaking Korkmaz at this point. If Morant is out, Melton, Korkmaz, Bane, Boucher, Drummond, Giddey, George, and Jokic. I love that lineup if Morant is out. Love it, love it, love it. Trey or Ja? If Ja is in, Ja. But when does that Atlanta game start? It starts... Okay, so you'll probably know the Ja Morant status before the Hawks game, so you'll be able to do that. Trey or DeJounte? Trey. Giddey or Bogdan? Giddey for me. Top players under 4K, Draftkings. Chris Boucher is 4K. Then I like freaking Korkmaz, Shake Milton, Paul Reed, and Delano Banton. Probably somewhere in that range. So Svi Mikhailuk is grabbing the start for Scotty Barnes. So we're going to continue to see Chris Boucher coming off the bench, which is that's a positive thing. That doesn't make me like Svi at all. Svi is very shooting reliant. Kemba, Lillard, Giddey, Korkmaz, Trent, Duarte, Randall, Sabonis, Drummond. Remember this comment when I bink FanDuel tonight? I mean, I like that lineup, so man, I'm rooting for you. I mean, if those players do well tonight, that means I'm probably having a good night, so I'll be cheering right beside you. Thoughts on Wendell Carter over Triple J? I mean, if Ja is active, that's definitely fine. If Ja is inactive, I can't really see that happening. I mean, I could definitely see it happening, but I probably won't be going there. Nerlens Noel officially ruled out again. Baisley or Kennard, 4.6K left at forward. Gonna be Baisley for me. Hopefully that game stays competitive. Who are the top 3 plays tonight? Andre Drummond. Any guard at 3,400 DK cash. Yeah, it's probably going to be Delano Banton. Actually, how much is Svi? Because Svi's 36. So yeah, it's probably Delano Banton at the bare minimum. I hope a lot of people pick Tobias for the showdown and don't find out he's out, so I win easy. Yeah, so that news came out like that. We haven't got that really this year yet, where news dropped right before at least a popular player. You know, that happened at PJ Washington not too long ago, and that actually screwed me because I was taking Mason Plumlee unders or overs on Prizepicks, and then PJ Washington went from doubtful to playing a minute before the game started, and then obviously that ate into his minutes. And Mason Plumlee was well below his projection. Who can I pivot to from Melton if Ja starts? He's locked in my shooting guard spot on DK. I mean, you could pivot down to Bogdanovic because that game starts just 30 minutes before the Ja Morant game. So I'm assuming you'll have news before then. Any Danny Green tonight? No Danny Green for me. Paul Reed or Elias Johnson? I don't know if Elias is starting or not. He is not. I would go with Paul Reed there. What do you think, bro? SGA, Milton, PG-13, Reed, Adams, Korkmaz, Triple J, Jokic, GPP. That's solid in cash games as well. I love that lineup, Brandon. Top 2 plays from the 76ers, probably Korkmaz and Andre Drummond. Best guard or forward under $6,700. Isn't Collins right there at 67? So you, oops. Oh no, Collins is 6,800. So I would take Al Horford here. Although with Gafford being on a minutes limit, you could consider Montrez here. Markkanen or Bane. I mean, you're not going to get that Ja news, so I'd probably just play it safe and play Larry Markkanen. Actually, I take that back. Desmond Bane is still a fine play even if Ja plays. And then you have immense upside if Ja Morant is ruled out. So I'd probably just go ahead and play Desmond Bane there. TJ or Maxey? I like TJ there. I just don't know how many minutes Tyrese Maxey is going to play. His minutes were cut back last game. Shake Milton and him probably aren't going to play next to each other. Now, if they start playing next to each other, then both of them would become elite plays. But I don't anticipate that really happening. And Shake Milton, if he's playing well, he'll start to eat into Tyrese Maxey's minutes. I won 2K earlier this year because Harden was ruled out 5 minutes before start. LOL, he was 9% owned. Yeah, that's how you do it, man. Same starting lineup for the Cleveland Cavaliers today. Bane or Giddey. I probably play Giddey there. MPJ under 31 fantasy points on Prizepicks. That seems about correct. I don't really want to mess with that projection. Do you like Curry as a pivot off of Maxey? Yeah, that's fine. Maxey or Milton, DK Cash. I probably take the savings in Milton there. 5,100 last piece in suggestions. I mean, there's a lot of good spots at 5,100. Let me take a look at my list. Yeah, so I mean, Steven Adams would be the top guy, and then TJ McConnell. Towns, Corkman, Duarte, Drummond, Tatum, Anunoby, Melton, and Banton. Not really on Tatum, but I like the rest of that lineup. How would you rank the Raptors? It's kind of tough. I mean, because the top guys got priced up so much. I probably like Gary Trent Jr., Boucher the most, though, point per dollar wise. You should listen to me because the Christmas tree brings good luck. Come on, man. What we doing on FanDuel? FanDuel has been posted if you guys want to check that out. Bane or Garland? Gonna go with Bane there. Rubio going nuts tonight. Definitely possible. I like his minutes security today. Bane and either Walker or Kemba, depending on John News, or Caruso and Collins. Probably Bane and Kemba there. Harrell or Collins? Collins for sure. McCollum, Trent, Cork, Boucher, Drummond, like it. Beal, Carter, Trae Young. Yeah, I like that lineup sheet. Jokic, Shea, Drummond, Tatum, and Anunoby. I mean, what do you think with those two values? Reed and Banton. I mean, your lineup is stacked, and I think Reed and Banton have an avenue to playing a lot bigger minutes today than they're used to. Best stud other than Jokic, probably Paul George. Duarte or Maxey, going to be Duarte. Harrell or Collins. Drummond over Jokic. Start Furkin. Yeah, Drummond is like the best point per dollar. Drummond's the best player on this slate. I think you just play him, and then if you want to get different elsewhere. Is Boucher still in play? He's only getting 18 minutes. Yeah, but that was with Scotty Barnes playing mid to high 30s minutes. Scotty Barnes is now out. Chris Boucher should probably play mid 20s minutes. And if he's playing really, really well, he could play upwards of 30 minutes. So, got a dumb SGP for the football game tonight, 20 for 30K. Man, those are quite the scam. Really luring in people with those same game parlays. 3 to 4 Philly players plus studs equal profit. Sounds about right to me. Especially since this game is projected to still be close. Let's see what it's at right now. Only 2.5 points in favor of Portland. So, I mean, this game's projected to be close. OG or Collins, going to go with OG there. Kuz, Collins, DK, Rubio, Giddey, Cork, Sabonis, Drummond, TJ, Triple J, and Jokic. I love it. Yeah, if you guys are in here, make sure to run up that like button. I'm trying to hit 100 subscribers by the end of the year, so if you guys could hit subscribe, that would be greatly appreciated. Trying to hit the big triple digits. Don't have much time, just about 2 months left. Lakers should start Melo over Ken. LOL, no. Who agrees? Yeah, I mean, it just makes sense for him to come off the bench. Obviously, they're going to close the games out because that's their better lineup, but you can't run that the entire game. So him coming off the bench makes a bit more sense. Stagger the minutes of your offensive players. Is Melton and Bane still in play if Ja is in? Yeah, they're still in play if Ja is in. Definitely in play, but would be more of secondary plays for me. If Ja is out, then they become like very, very good plays on the slate. Man, I'm really curious to see what the ownership on Dame ends up being. Man, I just like frothing at the mouth whenever I see the second half and fourth quarter Prizepicks plays go up because they just don't adjust the scores at all. Man, Julius Randle's still sitting at 40.5. Chris Boucher still at 20.5. Clint Capella's still at 31. There's a lot of good plays on this board, I think. If Ja plays, he's at 39.5. I mean, my bet might get voided, but damn. It is lock time, guys. Steven Adams at 27.5. Man, I might throw something together real quick right here. Oh, some of those just locked. Yeah, if John Morant plays, the over 39.5 is pretty nice. You're gonna promote my channel until you're forced to mod me. Hey, man. You bring me some new viewers, I'll definitely make you a mod. McCollum 8%. That's crazy. You know, that really is crazy that the Trailblazers would be that low owned considering how high owned all these 76ers are going to be. And yeah, man. I mean, if they're going to be that high owned, I just don't understand because and then the Trailblazers are going to be low owned because you're assuming this game stays competitive. I mean, the Trailblazers have to, you know, do something to keep this game competitive. I have never withdrawn through PayPal on Prizepicks. It just goes directly to my bank. I have direct deposit from it, so I don't know. And again, guys, if you guys want to try out Prizepicks, I give away a bunch of my free plays. We've hit both of the last 2 plays in my YouTube video, and then I just hit it again right here in this live stream. You get a 100% match bonus up to $100 on your first deposit using code Taylor, TAYLOR. Link is in the description if you guys want to check it out. They're becoming legal in more and more states. Really been running my account up recently. Close game too. Yep, that's the thing, Sheet. I mean, like, I don't know why guys like Dame and CJ would get low ownership today if the 76ers guys are going to be so highly owned. Only 86%? Wow, what are the 14% of these guys doing? I mean, Andre Drummond could definitely get into some foul trouble. This game could also blow out, but I'll take my chances with that. But I appreciate you guys being here. Before you guys leave, if you found any joy or information from the stream, I would really appreciate it. If you guys could subscribe, that is the #1 way of supporting me. It's completely free. Just hit that subscribe button down below. You will be notified every day when I post my video in the morning, as well as live stream an hour before lock. I do this every single day. I appreciate